Hi, this is Jason Holland, the roving Latin America editor for International Living. And I'm going to be talking to you about planning your scouting trip, which is where you actually research a location, determine that you think it's good for you based on the research you've done. But then you have to go there and put boots on the ground to see if what you've read about and kind of seen videos of matches up with reality and if it's really a place that you want to spend some time. And we're also going to be talking about why you might want to be a part-time expat and how you can make that work. Okay, so why would you go part-time? Let's kick off with that. Why would you want to be a part-time expat? And basically this means spending a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months out of the year in an overseas location, whether it's the same place every year or a different location every year if you're sampling to different places. And basically this is a great way to dip your toe in the water, a great way to try out life abroad to see if you really enjoy it, if that's something that you want to do. So this might be like a first step to going full-time. Now, you might have family and friends back home that you just can't leave. You don't want to leave them behind. Even though there's FaceTime and Skype and texting and Facebook and all that good stuff to communicate with people, maybe you want to have that real-world connection with family and friends. Maybe you're very active in your community. Maybe you volunteer. Maybe you're very active in your church. You want to leave those social networks behind. So you don't want to be a permanent full-time expat. You want to go part-time so you can enjoy your family and friends for part of the year. Now, a lot of people are snowbirds. And traditionally people go to like Florida or Arizona, for example, to escape winter weather from the northern United States or Canada. But now a lot of people are heading to places like Mexico and Costa Rica, even Europe and Southeast Asia to escape winter weather. And they become snowbirds. So you can definitely do that. On the flip side, you can become something that we kind of call sweatbirds, jokingly. But basically, these are people from places that it's tremendously hot in the summertime. Think Texas or the Southwest U.S. And so they flee to some place with more of a temperate climate, say the Central Highlands of Mexico, where I live, where a lot of people do come from Texas in the summertime to escape that heat. And they come to a place that has a temperate climate, like San Miguel de Allende. And you're going to find folks like this in Europe, Southeast Asia, throughout Central and South America as well. So definitely an option. So when you're part-time, you don't usually have to worry about getting a residence visa. You don't have to go through that application process, prove income, provide a criminal background check, all that good stuff. You can usually just come in on a tourist visa. So a lot of Central American countries have a 90-day tourist visa, which is about 3 months. So you can easily come in on a tourist visa, filling out no paperwork beforehand, stay there for your 3 months, and then go back home afterwards. A place like Mexico has 180 days on a tourist visa. So you can spend half the year in Mexico with just a tourist visa without securing a need for residence. So basically, as a part-time expat, you get to enjoy the benefits of being an expat at least part of the year. So you get to enjoy that lower cost of living. You can take advantage of the high quality, low cost healthcare. I know a lot of people get dental work done when they're part-time expats. They wait till they get to Mexico or Costa Rica to get a lot of medical procedures done, for example. You're going to save on your utility costs, real estate costs, transportation costs. Entertainment, going out to dinner, all that sort of thing. It's going to be tremendously cheaper when you're abroad somewhere. Now, Latin America is huge with the part-time expat community, especially snowbirds. So places in Mexico could be San Miguel de Allende, the Riviera Maya, which is Mexico's Caribbean coast. We have Lake Chapala, which is probably the premier retirement destination in Mexico and has a tremendous amount of part-timers who come starting January and going through April, basically right after Christmas to right around Easter. People come in. Puerto Vallarta on the Pacific coast, Los Cabos on the tip of the Baja California Peninsula, ton of part-timers there. But you can also find people in Roatan, which is part of Honduras, but in the Caribbean Sea, an island in the Caribbean. Playa del Coco in Costa Rica, northwest Pacific coast. A lot of Canadians go to Coco, actually. Central Valley of Costa Rica, temperate region in the center of the country. San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua, on the Pacific coast. Boquete, Panama, up in the highlands of Panama. Spring-like climate year-round. Ambergris Key and Placencia in Belize, two pristine Caribbean beach locations that are very popular with expats and part-timers included. But Europe also has a lot of warm weather countries that have temperate climates that are good in winter as well, and you get off-season prices when you go to them, like the Costa del Sol in Spain, the Algarve in Portugal, southern France, Tuscany in Italy, and the island of Malta, which is in the Mediterranean. So, you're not limited. This is all up to you. You could choose different destinations each year. You could go to Mexico one year, then Europe the next year. It's really up to you. I do know some people who go to the same condo in Mexico every single year, and they do so with a group of friends. So they have a tremendous social life when they get there. They spend the winter in Mexico, and then they go back to Canada when things start thawing out up north. And they enjoy their time with friends and family at the holidays. So it kind of just depends on what you want to do. So there are some people who are more roving expats, as we like to call them. They are not tied to a specific location. They definitely do not go back to the same place every year. They're kind of roving around the world, just seeing where their inspiration takes them, basically. And this is made possible because there is low cost and easy travel, whether it's by plane, a shuttle, bus, train, depending on where you are. It's easy to get around from your home country to these other places. And then once you get to a place like Europe, it's easy to fly throughout Europe cheaply. Same thing with Southeast Asia and Central and South America as well. So there are some realities you have to deal with as a part-time expat. It's not all roses. Basically, you're going to have to usually find a rental or you're going to buy a property. Now, the good thing is that there are classified sites. You can go on Facebook. There are real estate agents that sell properties as well as rent out properties long-term and short-term in pretty much every location that we cover as far as international living goes, from Europe to Asia to Latin America and the Caribbean. So it is quite easy to find a rental, and usually long-term rentals and short-term rentals do come furnished. You don't have to worry about buying furniture or bringing furniture with you. When you're a part-timer, you generally bring a few possessions, say a few suitcases, maybe you ship down a box or something, but you don't need much because when you rent a place, it's going to have everything for you. Now, you do have to worry about a few things as far as your financials and your banking, your utility bills and things like that. You want to be paying all of these things online, whether it's a direct withdrawal from your bank account or direct debit to your credit card or something like that. You want to be able to check your accounts online, your retirement accounts, your investment accounts. You want to be able to manipulate those online. You want to be able to pay your electric bill and your water bill and your cable bill, back home. You want to be able to do that all online, so you don't have to stress about it. So that's something you can actually start doing right now, and it makes things a lot more convenient rather than mailing in a check or making a payment in person somewhere every month. So start going online with all your banking, financials, and other accounts. Now, generally, you want to travel pretty light. Now, you don't have to bring just a backpack that you stick on your back, as the folks in this picture are doing. But generally, as a part-time expat, you want to have not much more than a few suitcases. You don't want to be shipping a container every time you go to Mexico for 6 months and then shipping back to the US. If you own a place in, say, Mexico or Costa Rica or Europe or something, generally you're going to have your stuff already there. You've bought furniture, maybe you have clothes in each location, so that you don't have to be trudging a bunch of stuff back and forth. And this is especially important if you plan to do a lot of traveling, or you're going to be a roving expat who's hitting up a bunch of different locations in a relatively short amount of time. So you want to be pretty portable. Now, what do you do with your home, back home? Basically, if you own your place, you have a lot of options there. This is something that my family and I have done, where we house swap. So we find people in a location we want to go to, and there are websites online that facilitate this. You can also find people on Facebook in this way. Basically, you say like, hey, I have a house in South Florida. We're 10 minutes from the beach. We'd like to go to Costa Rica. We want to go to the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. You kind of find each other, and you agree to swap houses either at the same time or at different times, depending on how your schedule works out. So they stay in your house, you stay in their house. No money is exchanged, but basically, they're in your house, you're in their house, so you're going to take care of all the stuff, and you have a free place to stay wherever you happen to be, and you have somebody staying in your house, keeping an eye on it, and that sort of thing. So lots of benefits there. If you own your house, you can also rent it out. And I have a lot of friends who do this as well. They have homes back in the US, and they're living in Mexico now. and basically they just rent out their house, when they're not back in the U.S. And often you can make a significant amount of money. You can even, in some cases, live off the income from your rental. I know a lot of people who are doing that. So it's a great way to make some extra money, or maybe even create a great income that you can live off of in an overseas location where the cost of living is lower. So one thing, if you do buy a home abroad, you always want to make sure it's in a good location, because that's what real estate is all about, right? So if you plan to rent it out, especially, you want to make sure it's in a good location. So if you're in, a beach town in Costa Rica, you want to make sure it's close to the beach, things like that. So you can make money, by renting out these homes that you have abroad. When you're back in your home country, you can rent out your abroad home, basically. You can get a management company. You can do it through Airbnb and hire a property manager. Lots of ways to do it. But if you rent it out, you do have to keep in mind that there are some local restrictions in some locations that restrict how many days out of the year that you can rent out a place short term, like through Airbnb. You probably have to pay taxes on the income that you derive from renting these places out. Lots of local municipalities are kind of catching on that Airbnb is a lucrative practice and are starting to tax the vacation rental owners. So you will need like that reliable management company or somebody like a person that manages properties, because you're going to need somebody to check people into the place, to keep an eye on it, to fix things if they get broken, that sort of thing. Another option is you can hire house sitters if you don't want to be going through the Airbnb grind, renting places out and worrying about having to market your property and things like that. You can hire house sitters to just stay in your place and keep an eye on things. Generally, you don't pay them. They are staying in your place in exchange for a free place to stay. And keeping an eye on things, watering the plants and things like that. They stay there free of charge. So that's an option as well. And my family and I have done this for short trips, a month, 2 months. We've hired house sitters to stay in our house in Mexico just to keep an eye on things. For shorter trips, they even keep an eye on our 2 dogs. So that's an option as well. So before you embark on this kind of part-time expat life, you're going to be doing your research. You're going to be looking at locations that you're interested in. You can spend quality time 4 to 6 months in one place if you really fall in love with a certain location. You could get to, say, Mexico and travel to the many different expat hotspots in the country. You could be up the highlands in central Mexico, spending time in a Spanish colonial city, and then you could go over to the Pacific coast or the Riviera Maya, or do all three. Kind of depends on what you want to do. Or you could explore several countries. You could start in Spain, over in Europe. You could hit Portugal, France, Italy, go up to Ireland, to see that country as well. So it's all up to you. You could travel at will. You could settle down somewhat in certain locations. It's all up to you when you're a part-time expat. So another thing to keep in mind is healthcare, because you are going to be spending a significant amount of time, even as a part-time expat in an overseas location, that you're going to need to worry about what to do if you have a health issue, if you get sick, if you're in an accident. I always recommend people be covered by insurance in at least some way. If you're from the U.S., you're going to need to keep your ACA coverage, Affordable Care Act coverage. You're going to need to keep your insurance back in the U.S. current. You're going to definitely keep your Medicare if you're on Medicare. Canadians, there are some restrictions there. To stick with the government-run healthcare program, you're basically going to, in most cases, keep your stays abroad less than 6 months. Otherwise, you might not have that care available after you get back. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people do wing it. They just pay cash because all the locations that International Living covers, they offer low-cost, high-quality care. So some people just pay cash. Mexico, for example, doctor's visits are $40 to $50. But here's the thing, if you do get in a serious accident, if you do have some sort of serious medical crisis, although the care is going to be cheaper in all these locations, it still can be quite expensive. If you're hospitalized for a month, that's not going to be a small bill. That's going to be a lot of money. So I do recommend people get insurance of some sort. Could be travel insurance, which covers you while you're abroad. Could be evacuation insurance, which basically they'll stabilize you in whatever overseas location you're in, and they'll evacuate you back to the US or Canada, or where you happen to be from, to continue your care there. You can also get international insurance. That's also an option as well that will cover you anywhere in the world you happen to go. And that's a good option if you plan to do kind of a roving part-time expat thing where you're hitting up several different countries. Now, one thing that a lot of people do is when they do go abroad part-time, they take advantage of that cheap healthcare, whether it's to get dental work done, maybe get some cosmetic surgery or procedures of some sort done, because again, the healthcare is low cost when you're abroad. So maybe you're not ready to retire, or maybe you can't retire, whatever the case may be, and you need to make some money when you're spending part of the year abroad. You have a lot of options there. You could start an online business. You could telecommute. Say your employer is perfectly fine with you being on the beach in Costa Rica working part of the year. I know a lot of people who do that. And if your job entails you mostly answering emails and talking on the phone, why couldn't you do that from a beach in Costa Rica rather than your office or cubicle back home? You can also freelance writing, freelance editing, graphic design, web development, all sorts of different options for freelancing. You work online, find clients online. In the world of freelancing, nobody cares, where you live as long as you get the job done. A lot of people also transfer their professional experience into a new career as a consultant. So basically, if you were an engineer, a lawyer, a teacher, pretty much anything you can think of, accountants, insurance broker, there's all sorts of opportunities to transfer those skills and experience into a new career as a consultant. And a huge advantage to these things of having an online business, freelancing, consulting is, for the most part, you can set your own schedule. Nobody's on you to clock in at 9 a.m. every day and then clock out at 5 p.m. As long as you get the work done, everything's fine. Now, you can also teach English, whether it's in person or at a school or as a private tutor. You can also teach English online, which has become tremendously popular. I have a lot of friends who teach English to Chinese school children. And they do it online through a platform like this, a video conferencing platform. They interact with the kids through this video conferencing platform. The schools provide the curriculum and the instructional materials. So all you have to do is be somewhat personable and entertaining. You don't have to be a professional teacher or have a degree in English to teach English. Usually being a native English speaker is just enough. And why would you do all these things? Well, basically, usually you can't get a job. Especially when you're a part-time expat in a location. Your residence visa or tourist visa is not going to allow it. And usually the jobs are going to pay not as much as they would in the U.S., so you probably couldn't live off that income anyway, even if you could get a job. So those are the options there. Okay, so let's kind of switch gears. Let's talk about how you find your ideal destination or destinations, whether you're going to be a part-time expat, full-time expat, roving retiree, whatever. How do you find the places to go, and what do you do once you get there? So basically, this is your scouting trip, as we like to call it. This is the boots on the ground, seeing things for yourself. You've used resources like International Living. You're attending this event. You've read a lot of things online. You've seen a lot of videos. Maybe you've been on Facebook to the expat forums and kind of felt out these different communities. And there's been some places that you're interested in. You think that this is the place for me. Some people have a short list. Some people have a very long list. But you're really never going to know for sure unless you go there and explore and really get to know these potential new homes for you. You have to get those boots on the ground, see with your own eyes what these places are like, see if what you've been researching matches up with reality. So you need to plan your trip. This is not vacation. I mean, I always say to people, you have to have fun because that's what it's all about, right? But you want to plan your trip. You want to take it seriously. And you do want to give yourself enough time. So 3 or 4 days is not going to be enough time. I would say take a few weeks, take a couple months if you can to explore a location. You want to give yourself enough time that you kind of get out of the thrill of vacation mode of being in a new place. You want that thrill to kind of wear off, to see that if you've been there for a certain period of time, that you still enjoy this location, if you still enjoy it, if you find that you could live there long term. And that's what that scouting trip is all about. So the online world has made it easier than ever to plan a trip. You can book your travel and accommodations all online. You can make dinner reservations online. You can find restaurants to go to, places to stay, activities to do, all that good stuff. You can do this all online. You can start planning a trip right off after you get off this presentation if you wanted to. You want to make reservations. You want to have this plan in place, but you do want to stay flexible. So say you're interested in 3 different locations in Costa Rica, say the Central Valley in the center of the country where it's temperate, up in the mountains. And then you want to hit up the southern Pacific coast, which is rainforest, mountains, lots of nature and great beaches. And you want to go up to the popular northwestern Pacific coast of Costa Rica, which has some larger kind of resort beach towns that are a lot of fun and have a lot of activities. They're quite distinct areas. So you want to make some reservations to check out all 3 different locations, but you want to stay flexible. If you find that you really enjoy a certain beach town, you've met some people, there's some events coming up that you want to attend, you really gel with this place, you want to stay flexible so that you could say, you know what, we're just going to skip the other part of our trip. We're going to stay here in this location for the rest of our little trip here, our scouting trip, to really get a feel for the community. So you want to make some reservations, make some plans, but stay flexible. Now, there's some tools that you definitely need. You want to bring your smartphone so that you can make phone calls, you can text people, you can get on Facebook and network with people. You can get your contacts down, you can do web searches for different topics while you're there, search for real estate, things like that. Same goes when you bring your tablet and laptop. You want to have these technological tools. Also, keep in touch with people back home via FaceTime or Skype or text or phone or whatever. Tremendously valuable research tools and tools for just getting around. If your phone, you can use it as a GPS, a map when you're walking around a certain location. You definitely want to bring your smartphone, even your tablet or laptop as well. Bring your debit and credit cards. They're going to be able to be used in ATMs and at stores and restaurants and all the different places that we cover international living. Just keep in mind that you want to call your bank, credit card company, say like, hey, I'm going to be spending a month in Mexico. Please don't shut down my card the first time I tried to use it. I speak from personal experience there. So just let them know that you're in Mexico or Europe or wherever so they don't suspect fraud when your card, which is usually used somewhere in the US, is all of a sudden being used multiple times in an overseas location. So make sure you contact your financial institutions. So getting around is easy. You can do in-country flights or in-continent flights that are tremendously cheap in most cases. You could rent a car. You could take private shuttles or group shuttles. You could take the bus. You could take taxis, especially around town. You could take trains. This is popular in Europe. Or you could even take a guided tour. If you're not comfortable visiting these locations on your own, you could take a guided tour. There are even specialized retirement tours in a lot of places that we cover. Places that people that take you around to popular expat havens. They show you some real estate, show you the healthcare options, and all the conveniences and things like that. So basically getting around is easy. It depends on your comfort level. So when you're on your scouting trip, as I said, you're not on a vacation, although you do want to have fun, but you're going to have to look for the practicalities. You're going to be looking for a place that you want to settle down in. So it has to have those comforts and conveniences, services that you need to be comfortable. And it's kind of a different list for everybody, but these are some of the, in general, things that you should keep an eye on and research while you're there by visiting locations, as well as asking locals and local expats their opinions and their recommendations for things like medical care. Is there a large hospital? Do they have specialists that you need? What about essential services? Is the power get cut off often? Is the water drinkable? How's the internet? Is the high-speed internet high speed? Is it reliable? Can you get cell phone service, reliable cell phone service? All things you want to check on. What's the local grocery store look like? What's the market look like? Does it have stock the things that you need for recipes that you like to make? Also important is the pharmacies. In general, pharmacies are going to be well stocked and they'll have the equivalents of all the medications that you might be taking. But if you have a very rare, specific medication, you want to check in the pharmacies, carry them, and how much things cost. You're also going to be checking into rentals and real estate prices. Obviously, if you're going to move to a location, you have to rent a place or buy a place to live there. So when you're on your scouting trip, check out some rentals. Look online, look at real estate agent websites, property management websites, as well as Facebook, classified websites like Craigslist. They're active all over the world these days. So you want to check in to see, what rentals are available, where they are, how much they cost, are they furnished, unfurnished, that sort of thing. And you're also going to want to check out real estate to buy if you're interested in doing that. You want to get a feel for the market, basically, and if possible, you want to go out with a rental agent or real estate agent to see some of these places in person, so you can kind of get a sense for what they look like. And you could even set up a rental, for your extended trip. If you really like a location and you decide you want to come back and spend 6 months or a year, you could even set up a rental and reserve something while you're on your scouting trip. And you also want to ask local expats and local folks, what are their costs? So you have your rentals, of course, you have those expenses, but you want to find out what utility bills run, how much a typical dinner out will cost, which you'll find out on your scouting trip as well. You just want to find out what the costs are associated with living in a certain place. Maybe there's something unexpected. So basically, you want to have fun on this scouting trip. You're going to be doing some work. You're going to be meeting people. But it is kind of, this is a serious business. You want to make sure that you really explore this location, find out if it matches up with all the research you've been doing. I encourage people to get lost. Sometimes just put down the map, put down the GPS, get lost, and you might be surprised with what you discover. You want to meet as many people as you can, local people, local expats. You're going to find expat hangouts, whether it's a Saturday morning breakfast, it's a sunset happy hour, or it's some live music event or a farmer's market every weekend. Find the expat hangouts, find out where the expats are chilling and meeting with each other. Go over there, ask questions, get to know people, make contacts. Get a sense from them, what it's like to live in this location. What do they think are the advantages and disadvantages to living in a certain location? You want to go to the market. Usually every place has like a outdoor, indoor farmer's market of some sort. You go to the supermarket to find out what the prices are. See how much it costs to get a pound of potatoes or a box of cereal or whatever you happen to buy. As I said, check out real estate either to buy or to rent. Maybe even reserve a place to rent while you're there if you decide to come back. You want to make contacts, make friends, talk to the people in the around the place that you're staying on your scouting trip. And keep in touch with these people through social networking on Facebook, get their phone number, text them, things like that. These are people that are happy to help. You can ask questions. And when you come back on another scouting trip or an extended stay to see if a location is right for you for a permanent expat life, these contacts are going to be invaluable to helping you navigate this new community. And above all, when you're on a scouting trip, you want to keep an open mind and keep your eyes open to get the most out of it. So thank you very much.